Dean Wire, fighting this battle against ill health, but that's all right. I want to be here for you guys and gals. I want to make sure I help you guys through the fantasy season here, playoffs. I probably won't be doing the live streams I normally do on Monday and Tuesday for sure. I need a couple days down after rocking through this, but you know what? It is what it is. We'll be back and ready by the time middle of the week gets to get you ready for that next round of fantasy playoffs. Now, I'll be looking around here. I've got the Instagram up here. I got the YouTube and Twitter here. So just try to do my best to keep the eyes best where I can. So we'll definitely work with that. And all right, so let's get rolling here. I may not even be on Insta yet. So let me try that again with Insta and see what we got going here. All right, I think it's kind of going. All right, so anyway, welcome aboard, everyone. And first thing, fantasy playoffs. Here's what I want you to understand. You know this from me. I deal in probabilities, right? I study the full season. I study the players. I study the defenses, the trends, the 3-week rolling trends. And all I can do is give you probabilities. If a team played 10 times in that game, the result they give you probably comes in 7 or 8 of those times. And there's going to be the Raheem Mosterts of last night. And I feel bad. I always feel terrible when a player doesn't. Mostert's game was not indicative of anything we've seen from him in the last 6 weeks. So with confidence, I would say if they played a game 10 times, Mostert is not getting that 60-yard run. He's not been that guy this year. And so just understand probabilities. If you have a gut feel in the fantasy playoffs, you have to go with it. I will just simply give you probabilities. All right, a couple other programming notes. If you're not following me on Twitter at Jim Coventry and NFL, please do. I do a lot of threads during the week to give you as much information to get you armed up for fantasy success as possible. I do the streams on Twitter, YouTube from RotoWire. And let's get to some questions here. And then please, if you're on Twitter and YouTube, or if you're on YouTube, please hit the like and subscribe button. I'd appreciate that greatly. It would mean an awful lot to me. And you see how to get 2 days free at RotoWire at the bottom of the screen on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Instagram, we don't have that same thing. I have an Instagram question we'll start with. We have Hodgins or Akers. Hodgins has been playing okay, right? He's definitely been doing well. And he's getting targets, so we like that. Akers has been okay lately. The last 4 weeks, he's almost 4 yards a carry. He's getting red zone work. Look, Green Bay, you can run on him. It's going to be single-digit wind chill, so I don't think it's a big passing game here, especially for the Rams. I think Akers has a better floor than Hodgins, and that's why I'm going to go with him. I think ultimately Chase Young is back. This game's in Washington. I think that pass rush, if Jones has to throw, Daniel Jones, I think it could be a real mess. I think both teams are going to try to keep it conservative, but I think probability-wise, Akers is playing well enough, and his usage has been up. I think we're going to trust him here. G Money. All right. Juwan Johnson or Evan Ingram. So we have to wait for the inactive report, which will come out in about a half an hour. But Juwan Johnson has been very good when healthy. But I think Evan Ingram, because he's mostly seen more targets. We had that 3 or 4 week lull before 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, Ingram saw 7 targets. Last week, he saw 15. We're not seeing the 15 again. But the 7 targets is kind of in that range. Juwan Johnson's getting 4-ish targets, and he's converting on those. But I think ultimately, Evan Ingram has a lot of 10-point PPR games. And so I think Evan Ingram has that, other than that 3 weeks where he kind of disappeared, he's got a good floor. And I think we trust it. Because Juwan Johnson is good. He doesn't really have a big ceiling. Well, we've seen Ingram. He's not going to have that ceiling game. Last week it was a career game. But Ingram has a higher ceiling and a reasonable floor. So I think for that reason, we go with Ingram. In Dallas, I think that is an attackable spot. I know Dallas's numbers, fantasy against tight ends. This is not a matchup that's worrying me. Dallas is down secondary players. And then pick one. Hollywood, McKinnon. As I look at this Houston game with Kansas City, there are weeks where Kansas City needs to use their screen game. And I don't think this is one of them. I think they could play this. They could work on their passing game. They could work on their running game. I don't think they got to get cute here. And I think they want to limit McKinnon's touches when they can. Hollywood Brown is expected to play here. He's playing in the slot a lot. So now he avoids those outside corners. And I know Bryce Callahan, whether he's playing or not, he wasn't 100%. And I think Hollywood is a good matchup for him. Lazard, I am worried is a low volume game. Aaron Donald's out. So I think that the Packers are going to have a lot of success running. Remember, you see the Rams, you see number one run defense, not without Ashawn Robinson and Aaron Donald. So I think they run a lot. So I think your best play here with the floor is Hollywood Brown. And I think he has a reasonable enough ceiling. That's why I would prefer him there. Delroy, Thank you so much for the well wishes. I know, and I try to broadcast when I'm ill, but I did that because I'm not going to be able to get to the questions the same way as I would. Like I was really pushing people to the live stream from gutting this one out, but to answer them all on Twitter, it just gets to be a bit much when you're trying to maintain it. So thank you, Delroy. Appreciate you. So you have St. Brown and Jamar Chase, your receivers. Do you take either one out? Or DJ Chark is a nightmare matchup this week. Those two corners, DJ Reed and Sauce Gardner, that is out of Chark's typical skill set. And Jared Goff outside is not a good quarterback in the cold weather, and it's a bad matchup for him. Zay Jones, you know what? Ultimately, he's going to see probably at least half of his snaps against Trevon Diggs. Don't like that. And Richie James, you know what? It's really week to week with him. And so I just think, so you said, Jason, I'm going to do either one or both out for. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, you just keep those guys on your bench. It looks like you got two elite starters. No reason to shy away from them. Kevon, Rashad White or Stevenson. So both of them see targets. White's healthy. Stevenson right now, we do have a question. The report this morning was he's likely to play. Do I trust Belichick? Interesting too, right? So we got an issue with that. Rashad White's going to get his targets. They're playing the Bengals. The Bengals are going to drop 8, probably drop 7 to 8, and the screens are going to be there. I'm worried about Stevenson with an in-game setback. I think if you want safe, you go with Rashad White. Stevenson has a higher ceiling, I think, because Stevenson can have a big game, but the ankle is a worry. So if you come on, when you look at your lineup, you got to say this. I want a safe 10-ish PPR points. I'm going with Rashad White. If you're willing to take a risk of a low game because of setback on injury or not full health for a bigger game, then Stevenson will be your guy. And Damian Harris is out, so that helps, right? And that helps. That definitely helps. So I think Stevenson has a big range of outcomes, but there's risk, and I need you to know that. All right, let's see what else I got here. All right, I got Sideshow. Let's see if I miss anybody else here. All right, Sideshow. We're going to do some Instagram questions here. Komet or Henry? I like Komet here. The middle of the field is attackable. Avonte Maddox is a slot corner. He's back. He's small. Komet can push him around. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, their safety. He's on IR. He's out. And the way it works, Komet's really their number one receiver right now. And the way it works is when Justin Field gets moving, players bite in. Komet tends to go underneath them. Henry is just really tough to trust because they don't integrate him in the game plan every week. And when they do, it's not even a high ceiling. Komet has ceiling. Komet has real ceiling. And he's been way more stable since the beginning of the season of fiasco when they weren't moving around their quarterback. So I'm going to go Komet like 75% to 25% there. And then you got Tannehill, Brady, or Andy Dalton. Yeah, it's a tough one here. So Brady's going to make a lot of his hay on underneath passes to Godwin and the screens to his running backs. They're going to drop the secondary. So it's going to be hard to connect with deep plays for Mike Evans. That's going to be difficult because of the way they play that zone. But Brady's going to have a lot of volume. Tannehill, look, it's easy to run on the Chargers. And I don't know that the Chargers are going to go in and saying, that we're going to load the box. I think they're okay with Henry running on them because they think they got to outscore the Titans. And so Tannehill's shaky because I don't think they sell out, and he needs that to go off. Dalton, the game against Atlanta, this could be 13-7. It could be 31-30. So there's a lot of range of outcomes. Brady has the safest floor. Dalton's hard to trust. But I think Dalton could have a ceiling game here, but I think the risk is too much. I would go with Brady for floor. Brady's going to score something. Trey Hendrickson is out, and that's big. That slows the pass rush down. And Brady could live that life of death by 1,000 paper cuts. He could do that. I'm going to say Brady here because I think he's safer than usual. If Hendrickson was in, it'd be a different story. Kevon, you've got Zeke Elliott or Foreman. So I don't like Foreman's matchup here. And they were giving Raheem Blackshear 14 snaps last week. So they made it a 3-man committee. Pittsburgh's a good run defense. And they're not worried about Sam Darnold. So Pittsburgh's going to try to make them pass. And they're going to stack the box up. And Zeke has been like, I don't have the numbers in front of me. It's been literally like 17 plus PPR points, like 5 straight games. He's money. And I'm not worried about his matchup at all. Jacksonville's a good run defense. They're good. But Zeke's getting volume. He's getting red zone looks. He's getting a couple targets. So I think Zeke has just been so rock solid. I think you don't overthink this one. I don't think we get cute here. Foreman's a good player. I like him, but I don't like the matchup here. And Maz, all right, what do you got? Hello. two questions: Evans or Godwin, McKinnon or Lat Murray. So, as you heard me probably just say, I really think with the style of defense we see from the Bengals, I really believe we're going to see a lot of underneath passing because that's what the Bengals push you to do. Brady likes that. Brady can live in that realm. And so Godwin, to me, is a better play this week. Now, you may, if you were around a little while here, you heard me say about the McKinnon concerns. I don't think the Chiefs need to focus on that screen game here. I think they can play it straight with the run. They can work on their passing elements, but I don't think they need to wear out. McKinnon's a guy they got to keep his touches like under control. And honestly, I just don't think there's a week they really need him a lot. So I am, against Houston, they should play with the lead. And so I would go, and normally you guys know I don't like Latavius Murray. He's been washed up for a couple of years, but this is a matchup. It's good for him. They give him volume, so there's that, right? And now they're playing a defense that, so the way we look at it is a defense, Arizona, they're struggling against the run. They're really struggling. So I think Murray could get you 65 yards, a decent chance to score. So I'm going to go Latavius Murray, and you're going to be stunned I said that because you guys know how my disdain for Lat Murray as a fantasy option. A great player in his own right for all these years and a great man, but as in terms of fantasy option, not excited. Foxborough News, Kmet or Ingram? Yeah, that's a tough one. They're both good options this week. And I like Kmet. Kmet's kind of their number one guy because there's no Mooney, and obviously not the Claypool ever was. But Ingram is a good matchup too. Dallas, like I said, ignore the numbers against the tight end. They use him so differently. He's a slot receiver. It's what he is, right? And Dallas is down people in their secondary. I think the scoring is much higher. This is a 50-50 shot though, because Kmet gets more red zone percentage than Ingram gets. And I think Fields is going to have opportunity to get to him. Ingram, not just the 15 targets this week, but he had 7 weeks prior. And it's 50-50. I would lean toward, I think Kmet is safer. I do think Kmet's safer. But this one is really, if you have a gut feel, go with it because there's no wrong answer here. But with Avonte Maddox being small in the slot corner and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson being out, I think that's an advantage that Kmet can take advantage of here. And again, Ingram has a nice matchup too, so I'm definitely with that. All right, I got an Instagram question. Kmet or Okonkwo? So I loved Okonkwo last week. I know I talked him up, and I started him in the Kings Classic, and I was very, very happy. I started him in other leagues. I started him in like 5 leagues last week. I liked him. I'm concerned this week that he's going to get some targets, but I don't think it's a big number. I think Derrick Henry has enough success running against the Chargers. I think the Chargers are okay with letting him run some because I think they believe they're going to outscore them. And so I think Okonkwo might be a lower volume game here. I think Kmet is a little bit safer. Okonkwo can make a big play. He's really fast. He's for a tight end. He's like a supersized slot receiver. I was talking to Mario Puig on the RotoWire show yesterday on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Channel, and it's that Okonkwo was really closer to a stylistic fit body wise to AJ Brown than Treylon Burks was. We're not saying Okonkwo is AJ Brown. Understand that, all right? We're not going over, but we're just saying stylistically, Tannehill likes that type of player. I think Kmet's a little safer here, but Okonkwo's had 5+ targets in 3 straight games. And so there's that, right? I just think ultimately that they're going to run a little bit more, but this one's close enough where you have a gut feel, you go with it. You go with that. But like I said, Kmet is just really the dude with Fields, since Fields been mobile. When Fields wasn't running on design runs, it was different. But man, everybody just crashes down when Fields starts running, and that's Kmet's just over the second level. That's really cool stuff that they run with him. And with no receivers, he's their guy, right? King D Love, you got Rodgers or Tannehill. You know what? Aaron Donald's out. A'Shaun Robinson's on the IR. I don't think they're going to throw a lot, but when they do, they're going to be able to attack. And it's not like Jalen Ramsey's going to go on Christian Watson. Ramsey's struggling with downfield stuff. So if he's going to go on anybody, it's going to be Lazard. Or he's going to be in the slot, right? Because he plays a lot in the slot. So I think that Ramsey's not even like a big factor. I think Rodgers could throw 20 times and get you 230 and 2 touchdowns. I'm going to go with Rodgers. I think his floor is way safer than Tannehill's there. All right, let's see what else we got here. All right, we've got Iron Eddie, half PPR. What do I do at Ramaj? I know. We know he's not 100%. The report was, he should be good, but that's not inspiring, right? So we know that. If Stevenson is healthy, I still got to say you got to use him over Chris Moore. I played Chris Moore in the Kings Classic last week. right? I did. It's 14 teams, and there's 3 flexes and 4 IR spots and 6 teams on bye, but I played him with confidence. But they're playing Kansas City this week, and Kansas City has 2 good corners. They got McDuffie, and they got L'Jarius Sneed, and Moore's playing the outside. Now, he played slot earlier in the season. He's playing more on the outside, and Kansas City, he's not going to surprise them now after the game against Dallas last week. And they're going to switch quarterbacks. They're supposed to let Driscoll play half the snaps, which lends to the run, and they're going to play Davis Milsom. I just think overall, it's Chris Moore is like his 7th year in the league. So he's not this new guy. We all know that he's not the new guy coming in, and he hasn't really been out. I used him also in the game against Philadelphia like 7 weeks ago, and it worked out. This is a week I'm not picking him. I picked him in the 2 weeks he went off, but I'm not looking at him this week because I just think it's ultimately gets 6 targets. I think he gets 6 targets. They have other guys. They're not going to force feed him the ball, I don't think. And I think if he has a bad quarterback matchup, they're not necessarily going to say, you know, we're going to let Chris Moore win. I don't know. And I don't think the quarterbacks are like at that level where they can do that either. So I would go with an active Ramondre over him for sure. You also have Myers. If Jacoby Myers plays, Myers is a solid play. Against the Raiders, I like the slot receiver. I like you going with the slot receivers against them. So if he's an option, I still probably say if Ramondre is healthy and active, I think you go with him. But if you can't deal with the risk with the ankle, I think Myers is your better play. Use your gut on that, your fantasy playoff. So, hey, Isaac. All right, let's see what else we got here. Emmanuel, then I'm going to come back to Instagram in a second. I got Instagram, I got Facebook, I got YouTube, I got everything. I got Facebook. I think I said I'm not repeating myself. Twitter, got Twitter too. And my eyes are all over because I got these different platforms that we're talking to. So just bear with me here. All right. Emmanuel, thank you so much for the well wishes. Yeah, I'm hoping to get better here. The little Dayquil, and they give me a little shot of adrenaline here, right? Yeah, for sure. You got Pickens against Carolina or Tutu Atwell against Green Bay. Well, Atwell's been getting a little bit of usage lately. It's going to be 9 degrees wind chill in Green Bay. And Atwell's going to be facing, it's a passive secondary, but they're talented. And they're still a top 10 defense against receivers. And now there's a little film on Atwell that he's done a little something. But, you know, the Pickens thing is the word out is Trubisky starting. But, Trubisky really hasn't been good for Pickens. And he had the one long play. So he had that. And then Mason Rudolph could come in. So I think ultimately, in this case, we hope they throw a downfield shot to Pickens. And I think we take the probability. We're going to go with the exceedingly better player here. And the gimmickry in the 9-degree road game, 9-degree wind chill, it may not be a favorable game for the Rams going out there. I'm going to go with Pickens because of that. Mike, happy holidays to you as well. All right, let's see what else we got here. We've got Josh. You got Joshua. You got Judy, Lazard, Higgins, or Josh Palmer. So, look, T. Higgins practicing full on Friday. He's playing. I've got to start him. It's Jamel Dean is out at cornerback for the Bucs. So they're down a starting corner. They're down Vita Vea. We think of him run defense, but he's a part of their pass rush too, and their pass rush is weak. I really think that the Bengals can get it done through the air, so I like him. And ultimately, not chasing the touchdowns with Judy, but because Cortland Sutton's out, Kendall Hinton's out, and they're playing Arizona. Byron Murphy should be out, the cornerback for Arizona. Last I checked, I believe he's out. This is a good matchup for him, and I think he gets enough targets to cash. Josh Palmer is back to kind of being the fourth fiddle in the offense, and I think there's going to be so much open space for Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. I don't know they're going to have to force him targets. So, and Lazard, again, I think he blocks a lot in this game because he's a great blocker. And I know you hate to say it as a fantasy player, right? But Christian Watson, they're going to run a lot because Aaron Donald's out. I'm going to go with Judy and Higgins. I think the probability falls with them. And then, Karen, you've got Fields or Burrow. So, you know what? Fields, right? Well, that rushing ability. I know that floor is so high. Philly's a tough matchup. No Chase Claypool. Darnell Mooney's been out for a month and he's done for the season. And the weapons are really low, but he gets it done with his legs, right? But Burrow has a good matchup here. I mean, like I said earlier, that he's not Vita Vea out. That's going to hurt their interior pass rush. And so Burrow's going to have time to throw. Jamel Dean is out. Fields is always a great play. But I think this is one of those games where Joe Burrow can go off. And I don't know, I don't see scenarios where Tampa Bay's defense can really shut him down. And I don't think you're going to go to run heavy script. if you have a gut feel, you go with it. But I think Burrow is set up here with the injuries on Tampa is just too favorable to move. And Jamar Chase, I think Chase is going to go bananas in this game. And I think there's scenarios where Philly's so talented on defense, they could just sell out the stop fields as a runner and say your receivers can't beat us. Single coverage with their great corners. I'm going to go with Burrow. Green Bay or Denver defense. Yeah, defenses are always kind of fickle. I think Green Bay, again, being at home, 9-degree wind chill, a West Coast team coming out there. Baker Mayfield, I'm not going to get caught up in that touchdown drive he had. He's Baker Mayfield. He still is. And I'm going to go with Green Bay for that reason here. Denver, they got the good corners. I get it. But I still think James Conner is going to be okay. DeAndre Hopkins is going to be okay. We moved Hollywood Brown in the slot a lot. I think it's not a great matchup for Denver. They are getting Randy Gregory back, so there's that. If you have a real feel toward Denver, I can't tell you, that it's a bad play at all. I think Green Bay is the one to go with there. All right, we got Verifornia. You've got full PPR. Rachaad White or Leonard. Oh, man, same team, same matchup. White is getting a few more snaps right now. The targets are close. So I'm just going to say because White is a little more explosive, White's getting a few more snaps. I think that's a tiebreaker because they both are used in very similar ways. Neither of them are running in this game. DJ Reader is playing in the middle of the defense at an elite level, so they're not running. It's going to be what you do in the receiving game. And I think ultimately with Trey Hendrickson out, I think the pass pro isn't going to be the issue. It usually is. So White's going to probably see a little more stuff. It's really like 51-49 though, because they both have like the same role and they both get. So if you have a gut feel, go with it. I just think Rachaad White gets a couple extra snaps and opportunities, and that's just enough to push him over the top for me. Randy, all right. I got a cough a minute. Sorry, guys. All right. Non-PPR, you need 2. DJ Moore, Chris Moore, Rashid Shaheed, DJ Chark, Boston Scott. So, oh, man, that's a tough one. I ultimately, DJ Moore, the cornerback matchup's good. He's less than 30 yards in 4 of his last 5 yards, including a goose. I guess the 100-yard game mixed in with that. So his floor is literally 0. Chris Moore, I mentioned this earlier. I do think Kansas City, Moore's not going to take him by surprise. They got 2 good corners. Moore doesn't have an advantage. Dallas was beat up in the secondary. He was taking advantage of where Anthony Brown was out on IR, and so there was that. Rashid Shaheed gets a big play every game, and this is a game where that kind of locks in. I mean, Atlanta's going to struggle with that speed. DJ Chark is a terrible matchup. He's going to see either Sauce Gardner or DJ Reed. Don't like that. Boston Scott, you're hoping to project for a couple of carries, which we don't know he'll get or not, which he certainly could. If Philly plays in a blowout, he would get work. I would just say right now, I would consider playing Shaheed, and I would probably take a flyer on DJ Moore and just hope that Darnold chucks something up and gets him. But understand you're in the spot, and you know that. DJ Chark is not a good play this week. I loved him in the last couple of weeks. This is the one week I don't like him. Isaac, you got strong starts versus Kamara. I missed a question here. Foxborough News. You need a flex play. Swift, Ingram, Kyron Williams, or Ogunbowale. So Kyron Williams' snap share has kind of dried up the last couple of weeks. So that's problematic. And Ingram, not just the 15 targets like last week, but the 7 the week prior is helpful. Swift, man, they threw Justin Jackson in the mix last week. And I don't know if Jackson will be active. He had an illness. But the fact they're willing to go to a 3-man committee instead of giving Swift the ball, and it's a bad matchup on the road in a cold New York venue against a really good defense. I will say this. Inactive reports coming out in 10 minutes. If Quinnen Williams is out and if Justin Jackson is out, I'm going to play Swift. If he's not, I'm going to go with Ingram. Ogunbowale is going to split work with Rex Burkhead. But, man, with no receivers, with no Dameon Pierce, the defense can really compress. Now, there's garbage time, and you could get something good in garbage time from Ogunbowale. He did it last year in the fantasy championship week. So there's that. But like I said, I'm going to go with Ingram. I think Ingram is safer. And then, again, if Swift, we said if Quinn Williams is out, if Justin Jackson's out, then that means we'll get about 35% of the snaps from Swift, and that can be enough. Kamara, if you're asking, Isaac, He's a decent start. He's had double-digit fantasy points in 2 of his last 3. It's like 11 and 12, and it's not what you want, but it's been okay. Last game wasn't good. But Atlanta, they're good against the run, but they can use him in the receiving game. Coming out of a bye, I'm hoping they worked on a couple things. I would start Kamara as I normally would. He's not an elite option. He always has that big game in the tank, though, and the fantasy playoffs is kind of what you like. Randy, Taysom Hill or Okonkwo? I'm going to go Okonkwo here. Randy, I did a thread on my Twitter at Jim Coventry, and if you guys aren't following me at Jim Coventry NFL, go ahead and make sure you give me a follow there. Those threads I throw out each week, I think, are really valuable. I went over to Taysom Hill thing. He's getting snaps, but he's really not getting production. I think Okonkwo is a relative equal floor, if not better. And Taysom Hill's had like 1 or 2 ceiling games, and one is like in week 3. So I'm going to go with Okonkwo there, actually. And then Mark, DJ or Elijah Moore. So it's really hard to trust Elijah Moore with Zach Wilson, a quarterback. He's like the death of Elijah Moore. And I know DJ Moore's not in a good spot. He's had less than 30 yards in 4 of the last 5 games. But I would just go with the fact that we know he'll see some targets. Whereas with Elijah Moore, Zach Wilson is no guarantee he throws in the ball. So I would look that route. All right. Next one. Oh, man, thank you. Appreciate that very much. Stevenson, Knight, Pacheco, or Burkhead. Well, if you're looking at just one, and I like, actually, I mean, it's a number of good players you got it, right? Pacheco's in a good spot. Recently, Houston's gotten better against the run. Well, why is that? Well, what they've decided was teams are killing them on the ground. Let's just see if they want to beat us through the air. And they even did it to Dallas. They even gummed up the running lanes a bit, and it ended up catching them by surprise because teams come in game plans that we're going to run on them, and then you don't take them seriously. Well, anyway, they're playing Patrick Mahomes this week. So Houston's not coming out saying, we're stopping the run today. No, they're going to try to stop the pass. And I think Pacheco could get 12 carries. That could be 100 yards and a touchdown. I like Pacheco this week. Knight's a solid play too. I think a lot of people are talking all this smoke about Detroit's defense. All right, they're coaching in the defensive backs has gotten better. They changed their rate of man versus zone they're playing, and they got a little better. Their pass rush got a little better. But against the run, they still have a talent deficiency. So I am going to look at Knight's a solid play. Stevenson says you have good options. Stevenson is not 100%, and that's problematic, right? And so I think we look at that and say, well, is it worth the risk? Now, Stevenson probably has more upside than both of them if he's 100%, but the fact that the news came out is a good chance he plays means he's not 100%. I like Pacheco here. I think Pacheco has a solid game, but you can make a strong case for Knight as well. I think Burkhead you leave out of this one. I think your options are good enough where you don't need him. Mike, you need 2 to follow. Gallup, Akers, Samuel, or Chark. You have a great holiday as well, Mike. So, again, you heard me say I don't like Chark's matchup. He's going to be Sauce Gardner or he's going to be DJ Reed, who's playing well this year. And in the cold weather and Jared Goff's track record in outdoor games. And for those of you, Jared Goff's been excellent at home, has not been nearly as good on the road. His history in road outdoor games, cold weather, not good. This is the bad spot for Detroit's offense, I believe, today. And Curtis Samuel, the usage has just been like kind of weird. And it's not been good enough. There's been no ceiling with him lately. I like Gallup here. Is it a great spot? No. But I think Jacksonville slows the run enough where I like Dallas's passing attack today. So I like Gallup. And I definitely do like Akers. Akers has been playing well. It's going to be a cold weather game. You can run on Green Bay. He's been solid for 4 weeks now. And I think the probability falls with them. All right, let's see what else we got here. Fishtail, Murray or Foreman? 50-50 on this one. I do think Murray's washed, but he gets volume, and it's a good matchup for him. So if there's a week I'm going to advocate Murray, it's this week. This is the 1 week that Latavius Murray I think has an opportunity. He's Latavius Murray though, but so ultimately he's going to need. He could score. Foreman is a bad matchup, and I don't like they put Raheem Blackshear in for 14 snaps this week. They made it a 3-man committee, and that was just like terrible. But this is not a good match. Pittsburgh's going to look to stop the run and make Darnold beat them. So I think this is your 50-50 call. Starting the worst player sounds scary, but the matchup's really good. I'm going to say 55 to 45% Murray, but if you got a gut feel, go with it. Jamie, thank you so much. And Daquil's powering me through. It's got a little bit enough of adrenaline going here. Thank you. Like I was saying, everybody, the usual Monday and Tuesday live streams, I think I'm going to have to fade those. I'm going to need a couple of days, I think, to kind of get back to, I'll be doing my writing and all that, but that'll be enough to keep me busy. But yeah, thank you. So you need Everett or Dulcich. So with Kendall Hinton and Cortland Sutton out, we've seen Dulcich get 8 targets in 2 straight games. I expect against Arizona, who's terrible against tight ends, I just think that the variables fall with Dulcich. Everett, they may not need him. The Titans are so bad at covering wide receivers that this is a game where Justin Herbert can actually just kind of throw to his guys. And I think Dulcich sees more targets, and his matchup is so much better. I'm going to go with him there. Eric, appreciate you, man. Thank you for being here, Eric, and I appreciate you as well, man. I'm glad to be part of your fantasy football routine. Chase Young is not playing tonight. Well, that's interesting. That stinks. They were expecting him to be a go. Ultimately, I still think with 2 weeks to prepare for the game, they're still in a good spot. So there's that. But that's disappointing. I'd like to see Chase Young play. But all right, so we won't see him. And that's a little bit of a downgrade to what we were hoping the Washington defense would have. But they've been without him. They still overmatch the Giants. That's just struggling on the offensive line. See if there's any. Quinnen Williams is not expected to play. That broke about 15 minutes ago. So that does help DeAndre Swift. Now, again, we got to see if Justin Jackson, because he stole 20% of the snaps last week. It's a legitimate 3-man backfield. All right. And yeah, Chase Young, not expected to play. Dropped right before the show started. Julio Jones is not expected to play per Ian Rappaport. That's bad news for Brady. The Bengals are going to drop a lot of bodies. Jacoby Myers is expected to play. And like you said, Ramondre has a good chance. Maybe we're waiting for the inactive reports. I think that's a later game. Well, anyway, we'll wait for the inactives to come in. All right. I think we are good. Yeah. Okay. Let's get back to the business here now. All right. Iron Eddie, full PPR. Zonovan Knight, Brian Robinson. I like Zonovan Knight's matchup. I mentioned that earlier, but I like Brian Robinson's matchup too. And Washington's committed to running the ball, and they have a great advantage in the trenches against the Giants. And they showed that advantage last time they played. And I think they are both strong floor plays here. And they both are going to split some work. This is really like your classic 51-49% one where it's so close. I think there's a good chance. And Vegas made Washington a 4.5-point favorite after they tied 2 weeks ago, and the home field advantage is only a couple points. I think they understand that Washington is actually a better team. And coming off the bye where New York played last week, I think they're going to commit to that run. I think Robinson's your slight edge, but this is a gut feel one. If you got a gut feel, I'm going to say Robinson the slightest of edges. And then you got Conklin or Okonkwo. So Conklin had a 25-point game against New England the first time with Zach Wilson. But otherwise, he was like less than 5 fantasy points in all the other games that Wilson had played. So that's scary. Okonkwo, I think, has enough of a floor. It's been at least 5 targets in 3 games. So I think there's enough of a floor. I think we're going to go to Okonkwo there. Moore and Alex. Chris Moore, George Pickens, Zay Jones need 1. You're leaning Moore. So I was mentioning earlier, Moore is going to see a couple of decent corners. He's not going to surprise anybody this week. He's been in the league 7 years, so it won't be any surprise at all. And I do think the rotating of quarterbacks doesn't help him here. And George Pickens is going to be Mitch Trubisky and maybe Mason Rudolph. They're supposedly they could pull him if he doesn't play well, which is going to happen. Zay Jones, he'll probably have half of his snaps against Trevon Diggs, and that's not good. But if you're leaning more, I can't talk you out of it. I think Zay Jones may have the safest floor of the group, but that floor may simply be 6 points. And I don't see it as a ceiling game for Jones. So, look, if Kansas City takes Houston lightly, if the garbage time works that way, I can't talk you out of more over those options. I would probably go Zay Jones myself there, but I don't like Zay Jones matchup either. And I'm heavily invested in Zay Jones in leagues. Drafted him in the last round of many drafts. Randy, non-PPR, nervous about playing 2 Jets in your lineup. So Garrett Wilson had two 17-point PPR games in a row with Zach Wilson before they played the Jets the second time. I mean, the Patriots the second time, and Bill Belichick just understood what they were doing and took it away. But Garrett Wilson was fine in his last two non-New England rematch games. So I think, and he runs a lot of his routes shorter to the line of scrimmage, which where Zach Wilson can actually throw a little bit. And Zonovan Knight is an okay play this week. I think they're going to need him this week. Do you see? So as to an upgrade, look, defense have just taken Barkley away. Nobody respects Daniel Jones and the receivers. Barkley, even as a receiver, he's getting 4 or 5 catches for like 18 yards. And that's a problem because defenses are just selling out on him. But I think if you don't want to start 2 Jets, I think you could take a shot at Barkley because the volume will be there. He could break a big run. He could do that. Slayton gets his 1 big play a game. So there's that. But Washington saw him 2 weeks ago, so they'll be ready for him. I already mentioned the Chris Moore thing and Pickens. I'm worried about the quarterback. I think if you would go out with one, you keep Garrett Wilson because he had the 2 17-point games. So that's something to hang your hat on. Barkley would be your play overnight if you wanted to go that route. It's going to be a low-scoring game most likely, yeah. Henry, McKinnon, Swift, Stevenson, or Strong if Stevenson doesn't play. So I do think there are games where Kansas City needs to use the screen game. And I don't think this is one of those. I think against Houston, they're going to come in, they're going to run the ball, they're going to throw to their receivers. I don't think they need to do the design screen game here. And then they got to keep McKinnon fresh because they understand the usage concerns. So I don't think they're going to target here. Swift, Quinnen Williams is out. That helps. That helps a lot. But we got to check the inactives that come out in a couple. Let me see if there's anything dropped here. Let me just see if there's anything new dropped for them. Justin Jackson was fighting an illness. And nothing new yet, I don't think. No, so we're still waiting on it. Kadarius Toney is active as expected. Juwan Johnson is active against the Falcons. He is a good tight end play if you need a streamer this week. He has been productive in the games he started. He's been like 30 to 40 yards in most games. He scores in the red zone. He's a high usage option there. So if you need a tight end and you're really stuck, Juwan Johnson is playing and he is a viable play. Atlanta is not good against tight ends. Okay. Back to your Swift question. We want to see if Justin Jackson isn't active, then I think Swift gets enough touches to make him viable there. And then I would, so Strong is kind of the change up to Kevin Harris. He had that big run last week, but now there's film, right? There's film. And so there's that. And so I'm going to say Stevenson's active. I'm going to go with Stevenson. And if he's not, I'm going to go with Swift. I think even if Justin Jackson's active, because Strong, I don't know that I can count on him at this point right now. The Raiders are not bad against the run. That's the Raiders, that they're decent against the run. Rob, Chark, Moore, Chris Moore. Yeah, man. So I know. That's not an easy one at all. And I hate Chark's matchup. He's going to see Sauce Gardner or DJ Reed. It's a bad matchup. Goff in the cold outside, not good. DJ Moore, less than 30 yards at 4 of his last 5 games. He had that 100-yard one in there. We got the long play. Patrick Surtain was disinterested on that play. He was there, but he wasn't even like thinking the ball would come there. You could tell. Moore should get. I'm projecting like 6-ish catches, maybe. Moore probably has a floor. Right, has a floor decent with those guys. I might be inclined. They're going to take shots to DJ Moore, and the Pittsburgh secondary isn't good. And they're going to try to take away the run. They're going to force him to throw. I'm going to go DJ Moore here. I'm going to go DJ for that reason. If you have a gut feel, go with it. It's close enough any direction. Moore is not a terrible play for what you're comparing him with. So it all depends on relative, right? Other people are asking questions. I'm not saying no way on Moore. This is not one of those. Because Chark, I don't think there's going to be an opportunity to get downfield. All right. Looks like Wadeo. 1 PPR. Need 2 of the 4 for flex spots. You got Fournette, Dillon, Chris Moore, Drake London, and Hubbard. So Hubbard, I don't like the matchup. Pittsburgh's is a really good run defense, and Hubbard's played okay, but he's the second punch of the 2 or 3 punch backfield. So there's that. Fournette's going to get his targets. We know that since he's going to drop players in coverage, and that's going to allow the screen game to work. So I like Fournette. I like Drake London. I do think ultimately that Ritter's going to get to throw the ball some, and I think Ritter, he's it's his first game. He's going to throw the ball to his alpha, and I think he's going to do that. And they were in play action at 65% of early downs, and I think that's not going to change with him in there. And so I think that's a good play. Dylan worries me because he got the usage 2 weeks ago because Aaron Jones was in and out of the game with a calf injury. So I worry his usage was low. Aaron Jones was playing 70% of the snaps the last few weeks he was healthy. So I'm very concerned about that. I'm going to lean toward Fournette and Drake London here. Chris Moore, again, I think your options are good enough players where I don't think we need to get cute. And then Rob Dulcich or Okonkwo. So with Courtland Sutton and Kendall Hinton out, Dulcich is at 8 targets in 2 straight games. I think that volume continues. I think that the Chargers are going to be able to let Derrick Henry run on them because I don't think they want to beat him 2-dimensionally. I think they want to say, okay, we can outscore you if Henry's running. So I don't think they're going to make an effort to stop Henry. So they're going to have defenders back in the pass game. So I think Okonkwo is not nearly the play he was last week when I liked him very much. I like Dulcich better because of the recent target volume, and he should continue that. And his matchup is beautiful. Arizona's awful against tight ends. Let me check the inactive report here, everyone, real quick here. All right, so we got here. We knew Kenny Pickett was out. We know Trubisky's starting. He may not finish the game. They already said that if he does poorly, he could get pulled. The Eagles, Trey Sermon's inactive. Stunner. Nothing new there. Marshawn Lattimore is inactive again for the Saints. So whoever asked me the Drake London question, which is Waddell, Drake London's now even better. I was going to check that before I circle back. But with him out, that's even a better matchup for Drake London. So I definitely like that. DJ Moore is active as expected. The Bears are declaring N'Keal Harry inactive. And that's important. Equinemius St. Brown and Dante Pettis are super deep league dart throws here. I know the cornerbacks will overwhelm them. Remember, the mobility to quarterback, one big play is what it takes. So if you're like in a 16-team league and you are just like have nothing, but again, that's not as far as it's going because Komet's their guy. That's about all they got right now. All right, so right now it's all I see in the inactive report. Nothing else new here. Okay, we will check back every few minutes to see what we get going here. All right, King D Love on Instagram. ETN, I'm going to go Pacheco over ETN. Houston's, they're playing Patrick Mahomes, so they're not going to gear up to stop the run like they had the last couple of weeks when they've had that option to do that. And Pacheco can get 12. I'm saying he gets 12 carries. He can flip with 100 yards and a touchdown here. ETN just hasn't been playing well. I don't know if it's the foot, but like last month, he just hasn't been good. And Dallas is not like a great matchup. It's not a terrible matchup, not a great matchup. But he just hasn't been playing well. And Pacheco has. And I think that he gets enough work here, and he's been taking advantage of what the defense are giving him, and he's been very successful. I'm going to go with Pacheco, like 60-40, a little relative confidence with that one. And then King D Love has Schultz or Ingram. I think Schultz is safer. Schultz has 2 touchdown upside, which wouldn't, in this game, the middle of the field is going to kind of be there against Jacksonville. Ingram had 7 targets 2 weeks ago for the crazy 15-target game last week. I think Schultz is safer. Ingram has more downside. And honestly, other than that one game, he had a career game last week, his upside games haven't been where Schultz's are. I think in the fantasy playoffs, Schultz is pretty safe, and the matchup is not worrisome at all. I would look that route. Hey, Brian, the Fozzie Bear. Yeah, Waka Waka. I like that. All right, ETN or Christian Kirk. Oh, yeah. Thank you, bro. And if you guys are on YouTube, please smash the like and subscribe button. I would appreciate that greatly. And if you want to know how to get RotoWire free for 2 days, it's right at the bottom of the screen, rotowire.com/. You don't even need a credit card. It's an email address. So no gimmicks. We don't try to hook you that way. Do it legit. Do it the right way. All right. Brian, Christian Kirk in this one. You just heard me say about ETN. He just hasn't been playing well. Christian Kirk, this is a good matchup for him. Dallas' slot corner, Jordan Lewis, has been on IR for a while. Dallas is hurting in the secondary. The pass rush, they're going to need the slot. The volume should be there for Kirk, so I like him quite a bit. Mohammed, thank you very much. This is a good one. They all are good ones, right? Rashad White's going to get his targets, I'd imagine. He's splitting the work with Lenny Fournette. We know that. But Zonovan Knight plays half the snaps, too. He gets about 18 to 19 touches a game. I don't think people are making a big deal out of Detroit's defense. It's still an attackable matchup on the ground. But Rashad White gets those receptions, right? And Cincinnati, basically, they like to play that zone, play the guys back, don't beat him with the big play. Brady's willing to live in that world. He's willing to check down. Now, they're not going to run a lot because DJ Reader's going to make sure that doesn't happen. So ultimately, White's going to need those receptions to get there. I think Zonovan Knight has a really high floor in this game. I think they're going to run it well. And I think he's going to get you at least 80 yards with a decent chance to score. This is really a coin flip, Mohammed. I'm going to lean Zonovan Knight slightly because if for some reason those pass attempts aren't there, those pass targets for Rachaad White, the run game is not probably going to do much with DJ Reader. So I'm going to go with Zonovan White. S. Morris, morning to you as well. You need to sit two of them. Kirk against Dallas, Devontae Smith, Godwin, Judy, Stevenson, Lazard. Oh, yeah, you're right. That's the fail-safe. Yeah, there you go. Right. Because that's a late afternoon game. I know. That's the thing. So I would make it kind of easy. If Stevenson, it doesn't sound like he's 100%. And you've got good options. And so I think sometimes fantasy playoffs, right? I think that chasing the upside isn't worth a player that's less than 100%, and it could be problematic. So Godwin is an elite play, I think, this week, because the way Cincinnati plays it, they tend to put the shell out, make you beat him underneath. Well, that's where Godwin lives. So to me, it's a really good Godwin game. It's a good Christian Kirk game because you heard me mention it a minute ago. I'm sure you were here when I went over it. So I think those are big advantages. Both those slot receivers are a great matchup. Devontae Smith, he gets 8-9 targets a week. The ball's going to be frozen in Chicago today. Wind chill's going to be 9. They probably are going to run a lot. I think Kirk and Godwin are safer. You need to sit two. So you need to sit two. So Judy has a good matchup too, but I think they might be able to have some success on the ground. Who's the second one we're sitting, man? This is tough. Devontae, I really hate this at Devontae. So between Devontae Smith and Judy, I'm going to trust those 8 to 9 targets. I think he's still going to get frozen ball or not. The Bears can't cover. They really struggle in the secondary. Judy had a great game, 3 touchdowns and 8 catches last week. But that game could be lower volume than we think. And he had a backup quarterback. And I know Rippon might be better, sure, than Russell Wilson. But I'm not going to trust him. I'm going to sit him. And then I'm gonna sit this. So you got Stevenson, Lazard. I'm gonna rank them for you, okay? I'm gonna rank them: Godwin 1, Kirk 2, Devontae Smith 3, Stevenson 4, Judy 5, Lazard 6. Let me just do that, and then I like the easiest way to do that. Ken, all right, thank you, man. Appreciate you. Thank you. Ramondre Stevenson and Riska Taylor. I know. And I don't like Jamal Williams' matchup, but it got better, though. Quinnen Williams is out. That will help the interior run game. I just think this is a really, really low-scoring game. But like you said, it's very hard to risk. And Strong was kind of the number 2 behind Kevin Harris. And the Raiders are not bad against the run. So it's not like it's a game where, okay, well, they're going to go off like they did against Arizona. That's Arizona, right? So I think Jamal Williams is a reasonable play here. And I think if you're hedging against injury, he's getting 40% of the snaps. We know that. Let me see if Justin Jackson's active or not. Yeah, we see it's dropped yet. Oh, good. It dropped. And, of course, it looks like he is active. So 3-man committee maybe again. Great. Beautiful. Just what we wanted to hear. That puts a little bit of a dink in it. While Williams to get goal line work. I think risking with a hurt player is tough. I think that's tough. And so I would just go with the safety of Williams, knowing he's been somewhat money most of the year. And if you're a big underdog in your game, Williams is probably getting 20 points. Williams is probably getting you 10 to 12. That's probably what he's getting you here. You're hoping for that. And if you're good with that, go with it. If you need a swing for defense game, then you might have to risk it. That's how I'll answer that, Ken. Brandon Cooks we knew was out. Nico Collins we knew was out. Both cornerbacks for the Texans are out. No surprise inactive for the Lions. We already said Quinnen Williams was out. There's a huge loss. We already knew Corey Davis was out. No big deal there. Falcons, no surprise inactives. All right, we look like we're kind of good there. All right, if anybody hears anything, we'll get in and look at this too. All right, good there. All right, see what else we got here. All right, Keith. Thoughts on this Driscoll situation. So on my Twitter at Jim Coventry NFL, I did a thread specifically on Jeff Driscoll. It's like a 3-minute read, but it goes over pretty much everything you need to know about him. Now, if he's projected to play half the snaps, a mobile quarterback in a full game is, like him, a limited mobile quarterback is probably good for about 20 points. So now you're looking at an upside of like 10-ish, right? That's what you're looking at, right? And they are playing Kansas City. Now, using the mobile quarterback, they trail. Don't know if that makes sense. You probably want the guy throwing the ball at that point, not the guy running the ball. So there's worry there. Everett's not in a great spot this week because ultimately Titans can't cover receivers, and Mike Williams, Keenan Allen are going to do a lot of damage here. Now Everett gets a few targets. I think Driscoll might actually have a safer floor than Everett. And I don't know that Everett has a big ceiling play this week. So in this particular case, and with the dynamics of the matchup, Driscoll probably is not the worst play. Because if he accounts for a touchdown one way or the other, he's kind of got this one. So I would probably lean Driscoll 60. But I would look at that thread too, and then it gives you better clarity on Driscoll. Andy, Ramondre, or Chuba. Now we're getting into the tougher waters here, right? The times on these games, I need to really check that, and I haven't. I do want to say Pittsburgh's got to be an early game. Let me just double check that. I'm going to make sure it is. I'm under the weather, guys, so give me a little latitude on that one. The times of the games are just not. So here's your problem. Your problem is that if we don't know for sure if Ramondre is playing, which they say is a good chance he plays, but it's Bill Belichick. Is he playing games, right? And Hubbard does not have a good matchup, though. And there's a chance that he runs for 25 yards, and that's it. Pittsburgh's a tough run D. And they're going to sell out to stop the run because they want Sam Darnold to throw the ball. That's when good things happen for them. So I would be willing to take the risk on Stevenson. Now, if there is somebody on waivers, if you could pick up if he's a surprise inactive, you might go ahead and do that and hedge. It could be any player in a late game, an evening game, or a Monday game. It could be Kevin Harris. It could be Pierre Strong. It could be something. I would probably take that risk because I don't think Hubbard's in a good spot here. JKM, I got to get – we're okay on time here. It's good. All right. Now, ETN, Robinson, or Akers. So, ultimately, ETN has not been playing very well. Dallas's matchup is somewhat neutral. Robinson is a good matchup. They're feeding him the ball enough, and they should have a chance to play with the lead here. Akers has been playing decently. It's a good matchup, but if they fall behind, they could game script him out. 9-degree wind chill for a West Coast team. That's going to be a little bit interesting here, So I think Brian Robinson's your play here. He has a solid floor, and he has the best chance of the 3 of scoring, I would think. All right, so we have another Instagram questions here. Giles G-Man, morning to you as well. Zonovan Knight, DeAndre Swift, or Jamal Williams. So Justin Jackson was active. Let me just double check that again. Yeah, they listed Justin Jackson, but he's active. And last week, Justin Jackson played like 20-something% of the snaps. It was ridiculous. 3-man timeshare. It wasn't good enough with 2. Now it's 3. That gets me scared. Now, Quinnen Williams is out. That helps the Lions running backs. That's a big deal. They're going to have to move the ball because I don't think Jared Goff's getting it done against Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed in freezing temperatures and a road outdoor game. I think it's a bad spot. They're going to have to run the ball. They're going to need their run game. So I like Knight, though. I like Knight. And I think Knight has a higher floor than Swift and Williams. So I think you're going to do a Knight because he's getting 15 and 19 touches. Swift and Williams, we can't say that. So that's where we're going to go. And I don't know, Quinnen Williams out. They may still be okay. The Jets may still be okay against the run. I'm going to go with Zonovan Knight there. And then Randy, expectations for the Chiefs today. So it's always tough to call when you're an enormous favorite because you can take a team lightly. You could come in and work on things. They toyed with the Rams a few weeks ago. They didn't really work on them. They just sailed through the game. Nate Tice from The Athletic said they played with their food. And that could be the case here too. And so expectations for any are tough. Juju, since he's been healthy, around that concussion time he was down, but he's getting like 8 targets a game, so he should be fine. I mean, I don't think they have to feed Kelsey 15 targets here. Kelsey does his normal damage. It's really going to be happenstance. I don't know they need to take deep shots to MVS. They don't really have to. It's going to be a very difficult game to project. Mahomes, if they're interested for 3 quarters, Mahomes will throw his 300 yards. But there's nobody that's that. I think they're going to give Tony some targets. I think they want to see what he can do. They're getting down the stretcher. They're going to need him. So I think Tony's going to get some targets, 3 or 4, maybe 5 targets. So I think they're going to see what they got there. That might be useful. And then, Keith, I think I answered that for you already. Randy, Dulcich, Okonkwo, or Ingram, or Taysom. Randy, I did a thread on my Twitter on Taysom, and the production, it really hasn't been there. He had a week 3 or week 2. He had a 31-point game. He had a game in the teens, but he hasn't really done much. Even though he's getting more playing time, it has been – Dulcich is getting 8 targets a game with Sutton hitting out. I think he gets that. So I think he's the floor play. Ingram's a decent play. So he has 7 and 15 in the last 2. The 15 ain't going to happen again. But the matchup, I don't see the matchup as Dallas is bad. He's a slot receiver. Okonkwo, I think that I liked him last week. I don't like him as much this week because I think that Chargers are going to let Henry run. I think they're going to not open themselves up to being compromised both ways. I think Dulcich is your floor play. Ingram is right there with him. Between those two, Ingram coming off the game of his life. I'd probably go 51% Ingram, 49% Dulcich. It's close. And one more about the Bucs game. Who are the Bucs and Julio Jones out? Well, so I expect that they're going to play a zone. They're going to make Brady just deal the ball short. And that's a big Godwin game. I don't think it's going to be downfield shots. The way that the Bengals play, they blanket the downfield part. They're not going to give up deep plays. So I don't know that plays to Scotty Miller. If Perryman's there, it doesn't play to him. I think it's a lot of screens to the running backs. I think it's a lot of passes to Godwin. Russell Gage. And this is actually a game. Actually, everybody out there, this is not a bad Russell Gage opportunity. He stinks right here, but he's been hurt. So maybe that's all it is. But Russell Gage isn't a bad play because with what Cincinnati gives you, that's going to be open. Those short passes are going to be there. So that's something to consider. G Money, DJ Moore, or DJ Chark. So ultimately, Chark is going to be up against either Sauce Gardner or DJ Reed. That's bad. And Jared Goff outside in the cold weather. That's not good. DJ Moore has Sam Darnold, but Pittsburgh cornerbacks aren't good. So I think Moore has a better opportunity. Now, Moore's been less than 30 yards in 4 of his last 5 games. So there's that, right? All right. Montgomery or Jonathan Knight? Oh, that's a good question. On Instagram, ACF asked this one. So Montgomery's going to get volume. Philly is better against the run. They definitely shored up what their issues were. He should get some targets. He should get some use out of the backfield. I think ultimately Montgomery's usage as a receiver out of the backfield and the mobile quarterback helping him. I like Bam Knight, but I think Montgomery is a better play because he's going to get 80% of the snaps. Knight's going to play about 50. Montgomery gets more usage, and I like him for that. Rob, Latavius or Etienne? Etienne hasn't been playing great. I don't know if it's the foot. It's not a great matchup. It's not a terrible matchup. It's kind of middling. Murray's been washed for 2 years, but he's got a great matchup, and he gets usage. Murray's in a good spot this week. I always like playing a better player. I don't like that. I'm going to go with Murray. I think Murray has a good opportunity. Scott Cobb's in the house. Good to see you, Scott. I hope you're doing well in your leagues. Know you got a lot on the line here. So Detroit running game. Yeah, you heard me mention that a little bit ago. Quinton Williams out helps them for sure. They're going to have to commit to that running. It's going to be a low-volume game. I expect that a lot of scoring here. I do think Justin Jackson playing those snaps last week was very problematic that they had to put him in the game. And I'm worried if they do that again. Jamal Williams, we're looking at 8 to 12 fantasy points, I think. He always at the end of the goal line area, he could score. And with Quinton Williams out, that would be open. He'd be able to have more room to work in the middle. So that certainly helps. I don't think he's the play he was earlier in the season, but I don't think he's a bad play. I think he gets you something done here. Yeah, that's the way I feel about that one. Schultz or Ingram, I think I answered this one for someone else earlier. Schultz is a higher floor. And I don't, Ingram's game last week, I tossed that was a career game, so that's not really not his ceiling. So I think Schultz has a higher floor and he has reasonable ceiling. Frank the Tank, Hopkins, Garrett Wilson, ETN, or Foreman pick 2. I don't like Foreman. I love Foreman as a player. Don't like his matchup against Pittsburgh. And Pittsburgh's going to stuff the run and make Darnold beat them. ETN has not been playing well. Dallas is a tough enough matchup. Garrett Wilson had 2 17-point PPR games with Zach Wilson, so I could trust him enough there. And remember, he had that really bad game. That was when Bill Belichick had a rematch. So that Bill Belichick was always going to take that away. And then Hopkins, look, I know the cornerbacks are good, but D-Hop is D-Hop, and he can win against anyone. So we're going with those 2 receivers there. And then ACF, you got Swift, Montgomery, or Knight. Again, Montgomery, I think that usage is really a big deal for him. And he's going to get it done as a receiver or a runner. He'll cobble it together. A chance to score too. Hola, Hector. Good to see you. All right, Lucius. Go Pats or Green Bay defense. Green Bay is playing a West Coast team in 9-degree wind chills, and Baker Mayfield's a quarterback. I'm going to go Green Bay. Kyle, Swift or Chris Moore? Oh, man, that's tough. I talked about Chris Moore earlier. Dallas didn't show up last week, and I used Chris Moore in the Kings Classic, so I'm not averse to him. Quinnen Williams out helps Swift. I want to get cute here. Swift doesn't get enough work, but he's getting enough. And I think the screen game could be useful today. I'm going to go Swifter. Like I said, Moore could be. He has 2 good cornerbacks he's facing up against. Dallas was beat up in a secondary. He was taking the vacated spot of Anthony Brown's cornerback spot and was able to win there. And they're rotating quarterbacks. One is a runner, one's a passer. So I'm going to go with Swift there. All right, Mini Jordan, full PPR. Choose a wide receiver and a flex. Van Jefferson, DJ Chark, Chris Moore, Atwell, Skoranek, Hodgins. Oh my gosh, wow, you got a laundry list of names here. How many do you need? You need a wide receiver and a flex. All right. Jahan Dotson's interesting because he got usage last time out 2 weeks ago. And the Giants can't cover their down cornerbacks. They have nobody there. He's a reasonable play. Hollins was used both in a gimmick route. I think the New England corners are fine against Hollins, though. I think they're fine against him. Aguilar may not have a big advantage in this one. Hodgins is going to get a few targets. I'm worried about your Rams guys in the 9-degree temperatures in Green Bay with a good secondary. And I'm worried about Chark and his matchup. I am going to say that Chris Moore should get you 6 targets. I'm going to say we're going with Jahan Dotson. Really hard to trust Robert Woods right now. Too many low floor games. And then we're going to go with Stevenson if active. And then if you need a pivot in a late game, then we got to go to one of those later game guys. So that's, Hodgins is a night game. So I would pivot from Ramondre to Hodgins if you need to go there. All right. Looks like Al Hassan, Devontae, Chris Watson, or Garrett Wilson. So my only concern with Devontae isn't him. He's been great. 8 to 9 targets a game. It's going to be a frozen ball. It's going to be a frozen field. I think Phillies on the road, they're going to want to run. It's really hard to fade Chris Watson right now. And I know the touchdowns are going to dry up. It's about 4 straight 20 PPR games. We got to ride the wave while it's here. We can't project it's going to fall off. I can't see it coming. Garrett Wilson, 2 17 PPR point games before they replayed New England with Zach Wilson. So he doesn't have the ceiling yet of Mike White, but he's got a good floor. I'm going to go with those 2. I think that there could be a lot of running in the Philly game today. David, good morning. Do you still do the show where you give your favorite player props? Oh man, that's a Saturday show, but because of there being 3 games yesterday, we did a start sit stream. I do give you and so we missed 1 prop from yesterday. I'll tell you what I have for props this week. I got 3 of them. We had one yesterday that won already. That was which one was it? It was Gus Edwards over the rushing total. That doesn't help us now, but we are going Zay Jones under 55.5 pass yards against Dallas, Deontay Foreman under 70.5 yards against Dallas, and Keenan Allen over 71 yards. That show will be back. See you next Saturday as we have full NFL slate. So that's an interesting one. But thank you for watching that show. Christopher, McLaurin, Judy, Kirk start 2. McLaurin has a great matchup. The injuries at New York secondary have not been good, and Heineke may not throw a lot, but he throws a McLaurin when he does. Christian Kirk is a great slot matchup. Judy's a good play, but I like the other 2 better. I'm going to go with McLaurin and Kirk there. And let's see what else we got. Randy, Tannehill, Mac Jones, Darnold, Mayfield, Dalton, or Ritter. I know. You know, Dalton's a reasonable play this week. Atlanta's been decent against the run, and they've been bad against the pass, and I think Dalton can take advantage of that. I know, hold your nose and gag, but I'm going to go with Dalton there. All right, let me see here. Elijah Moore or DJ Moore. You know what? It's very hard to trust Elijah Moore with Zach Wilson because Zach Wilson just doesn't look to him. At least we know DJ Moore's going to get targets. They will have floors of 0. I'm going to go DJ Moore. Freiermuth, Dulcich, and Waller. Dulcich has 8 targets in 2 straight games because the receivers are out. And again, no Sutton, no Kendall Hinton. So I think Dulcich, it is a beautiful matchup. I know it's hard. So if your gut says Waller, because Waller, if he's healthy, he's obviously an elite play no matter who he's against, but he wasn't getting a lot of targets earlier this year. So Dulcich is the safest. Freiermuth, we don't know if the quarterback's going to play the whole game. There's that. But if Waller's going to be active, it's hard to sit him because he's Darren Waller, right? If you want to safe floor play, it's Dulcich. But honestly, if I've got Darren Waller and he's healthy, then it's kind of like, well, Darren Waller, right? He can get me 80 yards and a touchdown. So that would be the way I go. I would probably start Waller, but Dulcich, if you want the safe play, the layup, it's going to be Dulcich. Excuse me, sorry. Yeah, still not feeling good here. Hector, Chris Moore, Burkhead, yeah, that's a tough one. I'm gonna go. Oh man, I'm gonna go Chris Moore here. I think Burkhead and Ogunbowale cancel each other out a bit. They could both see screen passes. I'm gonna go with Moore there. That's a tough one. Packers or Eagles D. Yeah, because I think that we're going to have the Rams with Baker Mayfield on the road in a single-digit wind chill game. The Packers defense should be fine. I'm going to go with Packers there. Patrick, Gallup, or Pickens in a PPR. Highest ceiling. I think that's Gallup in this one. I think that ultimately this is a shootout game. I think that they could stop the run enough. Jacksonville can that Dallas throws more here. And the quarterback still can't get Pickens to his ceiling. So that's it. Competing for an NFC primetime overall points. Oh, man, that's awesome, Patrick. Congratulations. Happy holidays to you as well. Very nice. Let's see how we're doing on questions here. I gotta start going through these a little bit faster. We're getting closer to kickoff time here. So let me just I'm going to close out the Instagram questions here. Verifornia, Pull Point PPR, Zonovan Knight, Montgomery for sure there. Volume and usage. Giles G-Man, Zonovan Knight, DeAndre Swift, or Jamal Williams. We're going with Zonovan Knight because the volume will be better than the other two. Good luck to you as well. Kabroom, McKinnon, Zay Jones, or Elijah Moore. I'm going to go with Zay Jones. I don't think Kansas City needs to use the screen game today, and therefore McKinnon is going to be down. Now, McKinnon is the boom-bust play, though. If you want the boom-bust play, it's McKinnon, Zay Jones. It's going to be not a great game, but it should be a floor game. Elijah Moore just doesn't get passes from Zach Wilson. Merry Christmas to you, too, Kabroom. Ricardo, Hollywood, or Burke. I got to go with Hollywood here. Hollywood is in the slot. He should avoid the outside corners. It's a good matchup that way. King D. Love, Samuel, because he'll get more work than Moore probably will with him. Giles, you're welcome. Adrian, Foreman, Chris Moore, Latavius Murray. A matchup is good. I don't like him as his talent level this year, but the matchup is beautiful and he gets usage. Etienne or Deontay. You know what? When Mitch plays, Deontay gets the ball. I'm going to go with Deontay there. Frank the Tank, you need 2. D-Hop, Garrett Wilson, Etienne, or Foreman. I think I answered this earlier. D-Hop and Garrett Wilson for that one. Francisco, Etienne, Pollard, Pacheco need 2. Got to sit Etienne there. Pollard's been playing elite, and Pacheco has a great matchup. Good on Instagram. If you want to follow me the rest of the way, go over on Twitter and YouTube, RotoWire, YouTube, and Twitter. All right, Instagram, we're out. All right, we are back to last questions on the other platforms. Flexen, Dulcich, Okonkwo, Moore, Slayton, Burkhead. So you need 1. Dulcich is a high floor play here. He got 8 targets, and the 2 receivers are out again. They have Judy. He's the second option. I'm going to go with him there. I think he has a reasonable floor play. I don't know that any of our ceiling plays. Otherwise, I'm going to go with that. Lions or the Chargers, D. I think we got to go with the Chargers. If the Chargers get a lead and Tannehill has to throw, they could make mistakes. I don't like either of them. That's where we're going to go. Jamie, yes, good luck to everyone. You have your starts to show with going. Oh, that's good. Well, good luck with your show, Jamie. I hope that's good, man. Thank you. That's awesome, Jamie. Daniel Jones or Trevor Lawrence? You know what? I think Trevor Lawrence, I'm not worried about it. Trevor Lawrence should have to get enough done on the ground. It should be a high-scoring game. Daniel Jones probably in a low volume. I'm going to go Trevor Lawrence there. Mega Brick. Kirk, Judy, Foreman, DJ Moore, Allen Lazard. So Kirk's an auto play this week. The slot's a very good matchup. Jerry Judy should be fine in this one. I like his matchup as well. I don't like Foreman's matchup. DJ Moore. So I'm going to go with Allen Lazard here. I'm going to go with Allen Lazard as your third one because he should get enough targets to be effective. He's going to block a lot, but he should get enough targets to be effective. So we're going to go with him. Trey, more than you as well. Full PPR. Judy, Boyd, Rashad White. Dulcich is your tight end. Judy, Boyd. All right. I think you got to go with Judy there. He'll get enough targets. It's a good matchup. Rashad White, he's splitting the work with Fournette, and so we'll see what happens there. I don't mind starting the two Broncos there. That should be okay. Boyd is just so hit or miss with him. The ceiling games haven't been there. Judy's floor is what makes him useful there. David, good morning to you too. Olave or Chase? Oh, we got Jamar Chase. You got to go. Jamar Chase should go nuclear in this one. And I think Zonovan Knight is safer than Latavius Murray. Murray has a good matchup, but I think Zonovan Knight's workload and his matchup is good. Mark, good morning to you too. Full PPR need 3. Higgins, London, Moore, Stevenson, Aguilar, Dotson, Samuel, Chark. Don't like Chark's matchup. Samuel wasn't getting enough usage. Aguilar is too hit or miss. We're going to say this. T. Higgins, full practice Friday. We got to go with him. London, Mark-Shawn Lattimore is out. I think that he should get targets here. I'm going to like him as my second one. The third, we're going to do it this way. Stevenson, if he's active, if he's not, it's a late game. So your pivot would be Jahan Dotson, who plays a night game. That'd be your pivot. Giles. All right. Knight, Swift, or Jamal Williams. I feel I answered this one. Zonovan Knight. Phantom. Desperation Flex. Burkhead, Richie James, Shaheed, or Skoranek. Half PPR would go Shaheed. He gets a deep shot or two here probably, and Atlanta can't really cover there. Val, Akers, Gibson, or Patterson. Who should he start? You know what? The Saints have been middling against run. They're not that dominant run defense they were anymore. Patterson gets about 11 carries. Decent chance to score. Akers, if they fall behind, it's problems. Gibson, he's a little behind in the workload with his teammate Brian Robinson. I'm going to go Patterson there. Ken. I'm going to go Jamal Williams there. I think the floor is high enough that you go to Elijah Moore. I don't trust with his quarterback. I'm going to go with him. Chris Moore, like I said, he's not going to catch up on anybody, sneak up on anybody this week. McKinnon or Foreman, that's a tough one. You know what? McKinnon's your boom bust because I don't think you're going to need the screen game a lot here today, but it's possible they do, and he's a chance to score. Foreman is a floor play. You're only looking like 7 half PPR points, but McKinnon's floor this week is like 1. So if you need to get like 15 points, it ain't Foreman, it's McKinnon, but that 1 is sitting there for McKinnon. So if you just want to save bankable points, it's Foreman. And then Williams, Judy, McLaurin, Wilson. Who should I bench? Of those, it's got to be Judy. Williams is a great matchup. McLaurin gets an easy matchup, and his quarterback loves throwing them. Garrett Wilson had a couple 17-point PPR games with Zach Wilson before facing New England, and Bill Belichick took him out. So I'm going to go that route. Christopher. I know. Taylor injury. It's awful, isn't it? Thank you, Christopher. Good luck to everybody. Delroy. I'm going to go Pacheco there. The matchup's great. ETN hasn't been playing well. Gustavo, Garrett Wilson, and Rashad White. You know, I just said Garrett Wilson had 2 good games for New England, like shut down their offense with Zach Wilson. He had 2 17-point PPR games. I think that Zach Wilson, those underneath routes are there, and Garrett Wilson cashes in. Like him. Okay, good morning to you as well. Jeff Driscoll. I did a thread on my Twitter at Jim Coventry NFL. Give me a follow there, but check that for sure. I do like Driscoll over Everett, actually, but read the thread about Driscoll. Tell you what you need to know about him to decide. Yep, Alex, for sure, man. Yep. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I hope the thread helped. I try to give you guys as much ammo as I can to get you guys set up for success. Emmanuel, Pickens, or Dillon? You know what? There's a good chance that Green Bay plays with a lead in this game and no Aaron Donald and no A'Shawn Robinson. That's huge. I'm going to go with Dillon. It's a higher floor than Pickens. Mike, all right. Full PPR, pick 2, Evans, Williams, Keenan Allen. Oh, man. So Higgins for sure. Jamel Dean is out at cornerback, and Vita Vea hurts their pass rush. It's going to be Williams, or I've advocated Keenan Allen as like the DFS play. They both could go off here, and that's where it's tough. Allen has the higher floor. Williams has the higher ceiling. So that's ultimately I'm fading Evans because Cincinnati's going to play a deeper zone. So that's your choice. If you want the high floor, it's Allen. If you want a lower floor for a higher ceiling, you go Mike Williams. That's how you got to pick. Look at your matchup. If you're a favorite, Keenan Allen. If you're an underdog, it's probably Mike Williams. Everett, Higbee, Juwan Johnson. Juwan Johnson's active. Great matchup. He's been productive. I'm going to go with him. Henry, ETN, Brian Robinson, or Zonovan Knight. I'm going to rule out ETN. He hasn't been playing well. The matchup's not great. Robinson and Knight are very, very equal. It's a coin flip. I'm going to give a slight edge to Brian Robinson because the matchup is a little bit better, I think. David, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed the show. Thank you. London or Boyd. Boyd just hasn't had the ceiling games. There's 2 of them this year, and he's had so many floor games, and now he's got, he's back from the injury, but maybe he's not 100%. And I know London's been tough to trust, but you know what? Marshawn Lattimore's out, and it's Ritter's first game. I think he's got to throw him the ball, right? I'm going to go with London there. Robert, all right. Who would like you to spike from the New England or Green Bay? Baker Mayfield and the Rams going out in a single-digit wind chill game. I think that's something that I think about. Odin, thank you. Great. Fryermuth. Trubisky. I like that. Or Dole. You know what? So that's the thing. If Waller's active, it's like he's there in Waller, right? And so it's hard to sit him. Dulcich is very safe. He get 8 targets 2 weeks in a row, and Sutton and Hinton are still out, so he's going to get those targets again. So I think he's a safe play. But you got to decide. Here's your decision. I start Dulcich, but if Waller goes off for 20 points and you had him on your bench, if you're okay with that possibility, there's a good chance he doesn't get that game, but there's a chance. And he's Darren Waller, and you drafted him high. So if you can live with him having a possible big game on the bench and say you're okay with it, but if you can't, then you got to play him. All right, Rage Rod, Higgins. I'm going to go Higgins here. Nothing scary about the matchup with Tampa. Jamel Dean's out. That's enough for me. Ishan. Need 2 running backs in a flex. Ramondre, Kamara, ETN, Pacheco, Devontae Smith, Zay, Jones. So you need 3 of these. So we are going to say Pacheco for sure. Kamara had double-digit PPR points in 2 of his last 3 games. So he's not been great, but the matchup's not bad from the receiving aspect. So I'm going to go with those 2. And you know what? Devontae Smith is getting 8 to 9 targets a game. Ramondre's injury is why I'm off him here. The other games are early, right? So because of the time and not knowing for sure, I think that's the way we're going to go with Devontae Smith. I prefer Ramondre over Smith if I knew Ramondre was 100%, but I don't know that he is. And what if he's a surprise inactive? Can't take that chance. Deontay or Rashad White. Mitch gets Deontay the ball. I'm going to say slightly 51 to 49% Deontay. If you got a gut feel, go with it. Kyle's the only one I got here. Yeah, I can get through. Oh, good. I can get through these. Good. All right, Kyle. Hail Mary at the quarterback spot. Carr, Mac Jones, Darnold, Ritter. I'm trying to think this through. I'm trying to think what Bill Belichick will do against the Raiders. And I've struggled with this one during the week. I think they would probably want to stop Josh Jacobs and, then think Derek Carr's going to make his mistakes. I think that's probably the way he goes. So Carr, I think, is a little better play than not. This isn't a great matchup for Mac Jones. The Raiders are okay enough. They're going to get some pass rush from Isaiah Wynn, the right tackle's out. Darnold, I can't trust him at all. I think that's a bad matchup for him. And Ritter, it's just there's too much. And Dennis Allen's a good defensive coach, and he kind of knows what they want to do offensively. So I think that's I would go with Derek Carr here. And it's Hail Mary. I go with Derek Carr. Olave or Evans. You know what? They played at Shell in Cincinnati. They don't let you beat him with a big play. I'm going to go with Olave there. And then Stevenson is back up today. If Stevens is active, you go with him. That's the way it is. If he's active, you go with him. And I'm going to go with Komet. I think Komet is going to see his number of targets in the middle of the field is going to be an advantageous spot for him. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's out at safety. That helps Komet. And then when Fields gets moving, Komet tends to open up. Can I start Chubbs? Oh, Chuba. It's a bad matchup for him, and he's on the lesser share of the timeshare. I think if he gets fortunate and breaks a big run, he changes it. I think he's about 35 to 40 yards here, so you got to frame that. Mohammed, you're welcome. Jeff, Murray, or Mac? You know what, Mac had that kind of fluky catch. And Murray's going to get work. It's an easy matchup. They trust him around the goal line. I think it's Murray. I think we answered this one, D. I think we answered that already. Foreman or Zay? Oh, that's a tough one. Foreman has a bad matchup. Zay Jones going to be at least half a step against Trevon Diggs. Ultimately, I think the Jaguars game is higher scoring. I think I'm going to go with Zay Jones slightly here. That's a tough one. If you got a gut feel, go with it. Rachaad White's going to get his receptions right, but Zeke has been like money the last 5 weeks. And I can't say Zeke right now. He's playing at a high level. I know as much as you think, but he has been consistent production. I don't think he's at Zeke. The White matchup is going to be all dependent on receptions. If he doesn't get those receptions, you're not going to run on DJ Reader. That's probably not going to happen. So I'm going to go with Zeke. Jimmy, a tight game in play, you need to start one, not the best options. Chark, Gibson, London. So Gibson's your floor play. He's going to get work. He is a good matchup. He's a very strong floor play. I like him. If you want to go boom bust here, it's going to be Drake London because the possibility with no Marshawn Lattimore, the rookie quarterback maybe throwing the ball. Safest play is Gibson, though. That's your safe one. That's your best option. Chark, I don't like the matchups with either Sauce Gardner or DJ Reed. Don't like those matchups at all. Goff outside in cold weather, not so much there. AD, worth chancing playing Pierre Strong. It's risky. I mean, obviously last week nobody knew who he was, right? Arizona didn't know what to expect from him. So comes out and he plays a big run. He was the second guy though. Kevin Harris had the lead role, so there was that. So I mean, if Stevenson's active, you got to play Stevenson over him. If he's active, then he's active. Bill Belichick's going to deactivate him if he ain't going to play. I don't think Bill Belichick's about the roster spots. I don't think he's going to play a game with a roster spot. Wendy, morning to you too. Tannehill, Dalton, Rodgers, Mayfield. I think the safest of these is Rodgers. No Aaron Donald, no Ashawn Robinson equals no pass rush. I think you're going to run a lot, but there'll be enough passing. They'll throw 20, 25 times. And the Rams are not really stopping much these days. And Christian Watson's getting it done. Lazard is fine. So I think Rodgers is your safest play out of this group. Although I like Dalton, he's Dalton. There's the implosion game always sitting there. Rodgers really isn't going to have that. Trusting Burkhead for probably eight PPR points. I think 8 PPR points. He had a little more upside than that, but 8. So Brad, Aquaco is getting a little more target share, but I do think they're going to have success running against the Chargers. I don't think they're going to throw as much today. Johnson has a great matchup. He's been very involved. 55% Johnson, 45% of Conquo. If you have a gut feel, go with it. I am going with Judy in this one, Noah. Going with Judy. Zay Jones, at least half his snaps against Trevon Diggs. I don't like that. Tony or Jameson. I'm going to go with Tony. Williams isn't playing enough snaps. 14% last week. 2 targets. Now it's a great play design. Nobody covered him on the touchdown, so there's that. If Tony's active, and I think they're going to give him 4 to 6 targets, and I think I'm going to give him the upside. He's going to get more work. Trev, Higgins, Rashad, or Ramondre. I'm going to go with Higgins. I'm not going to think twice here. Higgins had a full practice Friday. We're going to roll with him. And Godfrey, you've got Murray, Foreman, Rachaad White. Now, Rachaad White should get enough targets to give a safe floor there. And Murray's matchup is very, very good. He's not playing at any type of a high level, but the matchup's good and he should get plenty of usage. I'm going to go with those. Foreman is a bad matchup. I love Foreman most weeks. Don't like him this week. Pickens don't trust the quarterbacks. I'm going to go with Murray and White. Sam, Olave or Kirk, like them both. Kirk is a great, great slot matchup. I think this game is higher scoring. The probability is that Kirk outscores Olave. Close enough for you at a gut feel, go with it, but I'm going to go with Kirk. Carolina defense. I think both teams try to run the ball. I think this game was really low scoring. So it's a points against thing, and you have a good bonus for holding a team under like 16 points. And yes, but I don't know how many turnovers are going to be. I don't think Mitch is going to throw the ball enough to get him in trouble. I think it's going to be like run. So I don't I don't think there's a big volume for sacks and things. I don't think there's a lot of passing attempts. Trinity, Foreman, Rashad White, or Chris Moore. I like Rashad White there. I think he has the highest floor of the group. Again, I don't like Foreman's matchup. Against Cincinnati, White's going to have to see targets. They play that shell, and it leans to that. Jose, Freiermuth, or Okonkwo. So, like I said earlier, I think that the Chargers are going to be able to run the ball today. And I think I liked Okonkwo last week. I liked him the prior week. And this week, I'm not quite as excited about him. Freiermuth has a stable floor. I think I just said I think there's a lot of running, but then the tight end kind of gets active there, right? I think Freiermuth is a higher floor than Okonkwo, so I like him a little better for that. You know what? I think we're going to go with DeAndre Hopkins or Garrett Wilson. Zach, he had two of his last 3 games with Zach Wilson were good. There were 17 PPR points. And then they played New England. They had seen him already, so they game planned and they took him out. And DeAndre Hopkins has a tough cornerback matchup. He's probably going to see 10 targets, though. I think that Jets game could be really low scoring, whereas I think we could see sneaky shootout potential in Denver and Arizona. So for that reason, I'm going to go 52 to 48% Hopkins, which means if you have a gut feel, you go with it because they played his weeks 10 times over. It's going to be 5-5. It's that close. I got to go Pacheco there, J Montex. I got to go Pacheco because Houston lately has been stacking us up there. They ain't doing that Patrick Mahomes. They're going to have to play the pass, and 12 carries could be 100 yards and a touchdown. Barkley, they're just defense are ganging up on him, and they got no offensive line, and they have no other option. So, and then Wendy, I think I answered you on that one already. I went with Rodgers. Sorry, man, this is killing me. It's cold. KD. Half PPR, Brady and Evans or Goff and Zay. Brady and Evans here. Goff outside, I'm very concerned about with those 2 excellent corners and his track. Goff's been great at home. He's not been good on the road. This is a bad defense to be on the road against. Zay Jones, about half the snaps should probably be against Trevon Diggs. Not good there. So I'm going to go with Brady and Evans. Brad, I answered this maybe for you or someone else. Maybe someone else. Juwan Johnson, slightly. I do like Juwan Johnson slightly. You're welcome, Wendy. Knight or Judy in the flex. I think Knight is a higher floor. I think he's getting his 15 to 19 touches a week, and that's very useful. So we like that. Judy, there's hope. Again, we're looking at backup quarterback here. It should be a higher volume. So here's what I'm going to tell you. I think Knight is your floor play. He's going to get you double-digit points, and I think you're in good shape there. Judy's your boom-bust guy. Because there's a lot of ways this game can go. I think both teams could have success running the ball, but I think there's going to be higher scoring. So Judy is the guy, if you're risking a floor for higher ceiling. I think ultimately, you know what? Now the more I think about it, Judy's floor isn't far off from Knight's, but his ceiling is higher. I think you're going to go Jerry Judy because of the ceiling. And Godfrey, Waller, or Conklin. So Conklin had the 25-point game against New England the first time around with Zach Wilson, but his other 5 games were less than 5 fantasy points. So I think we got to go at Waller there. I think we have to go at Waller because Conklin had the one good game, but he really didn't do much with Zach Wilson. Helen, what do you got here? You got Latavius Murray, DJ Moore, Cam Akers, or Rex. Yeah, that's a tough one. So, you've heard me say Murray's washed, but he gets a lot of volume, and it's an easy matchup. So he probably gets himself quite a bit of opportunity here. So he has the best floor of this entire group. Akers has been playing well the last few weeks. Green Bay can be run on, but if they fall behind, he could get game scripted out. I don't think Murray gets game scripted out. DJ Moore, I'm just worried about Darnold. He has 4 games in his last 5 with less than 30 yards. Now, in there is a 100-yard game. But on the play where he got that big play, Patrick Surtain looked disinterested. Didn't look like he thought the ball was coming there. And Rex, I think as much as I think he's okay play this week, I think Murray and Akers are safer. So I'm going to put Murray slightly ahead of Akers in this one. Caden. Mike Williams, D-Hop, and Pacheco, you picked 2. Oh, man. Wow. That's tough. I like Pacheco this week. But I think if they blow him out, Ronald Jones could be a factor in the second half. Mike Williams is a great, great matchup. And Hopkins, look, tough corners, but he's DeAndre Hopkins. I think it's really tough if you lose your season with Hopkins on your bench and he goes off. For that reason, I'm going to play my studs. I'm playing Williams and Hopkins because they're my studs. That's what I'm telling you. Thank you, Patrick. It's very nice of you. Wendy, you're welcome. It looks like my last one. Chuba, Dylan, or Strong. I'm going to go with Dylan. I think that they get a lead in this game, and I think the Rams are problematic without Aaron Donald and Ashawn Robinson. That's why I'm going. Good luck, everybody. Thank you for joining.